Hey guys, how's it going? Hold My Helmet Football Podcast. I'm your host, Will Reichling, and today we'll get into Dak Prescott, the Cowboys. Will they give him another contract? He's going to be going to his final year of his deal. Second highest cap hit in the league behind Deshaun Watson going to the season. So will he get that new deal? We'll also get into, the Houston Texans, lots of hype. Are they a Super Bowl team? Is this too much hype? We'll also get into Trevor Lawrence, the Jags picking up his fifth-year option. Is that necessary? Was that the right thing to do? Will they give him an extension? Does he deserve an extension? Does he deserve a big deal? I'm going to keep putting out content. Leave a comment on this video. Ask a question. Shoot a DM, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, at Hold My Helmet. Ask me a question. I'll answer it. Give me some insight. Maybe give me some advice. Maybe give me another idea to another podcast episode. I'm always ears for that stuff. So keep supporting me, keep following me, keep listening to my stuff, and I will keep making you guys proud. So let's get it. I'm the very first person to say that I've been very critical of Dak Prescott in his career. A lot of it obviously is playoff success. A lot of it is, the talent on his team at times. And yes, a lot of it has to do with him being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. I think that's what it is for a lot of people. The Dallas Cowboys are a very hated team. I don't know if it's because that a lot of fans don't really think they're America's team anymore, or that they're just jealous that they got that title, America's team, in the first place. But a lot of the reason he takes a lot of hate, obviously, is because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And it comes with the job. Tony Romo took a lot of crap. Troy Aikman took a lot of crap. Even Roger Staubach back in the day took a lot of crap. So comes with the gig. Obviously, he got a lot of commercials, endorsement deals, and everything just from being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And he'll get jobs from it afterwards. Look at Tony Romo, Troy Aikman. It'll happen to him. He'll probably have a job for life just from being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. But it comes with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and he's partially to blame. I agree with all the criticism about Dak. The lack of playoff success. The fact that he hasn't been able to carry at times, even though there's been times where the team's carried him. But I'm going to make a case on why I think Dak really takes a lot of crap when he doesn't really deserve it, and why I think he should, to some extent, get paid. Now, am I saying should he get paid $55-60 million? I'm not really saying that, but I'm saying he does deserve a top 10 contract. A top 10 contract, and I'll get into that right now. Last season alone, his best season by far statistically. 36 touchdown passes, 9 picks, 106 passer rating. And you could say a lot of that is, he had CeeDee Lamb. And yeah, CeeDee Lamb is arguably a top 3 receiver in the league. I think we can all agree that he's a top 5 receiver in the league, no doubt at this point. But other than that, yes, Jake Ferguson's rising into possibly an emerging star. But it's not like he's Travis Kelce at this point yet. And Brandon Cooks, yes, very solid number 2, had 6 or 7 seasons of 1,000 yards in a row. But he's getting older, kind of falling off a little bit, so he's not exactly T. Higgins at the number 2. Tony Pollard, I think we can all agree, was very underwhelming last season, even though he got 1,000 yards. The ground game was definitely left a lot to be desired. Mike McCarthy, actually, I think did a great job at play calling, but again, I think we all agree that Mike McCarthy is not a world beater, a genius at play design and play calling. So I think Dak, these stats, I wouldn't say was in spite of his talent, but he did a lot. He was a big reason that they were a good team, and he was one of the main reasons that they won the division. I saw a lot of mobility from Dak out of the pocket, moving around, and that's what I was kind of scared about after his leg injury, where he broke his ankle, broke his foot, broke his ankle. He was out for the season. It was the Giants game. His first season back from that, he wasn't really as mobile as he used to be, but the last season, he was making great plays out of the pocket, moving around, hitting CeeDee Lamb. Dak was great last season. And look, he's had 3 30-plus touchdown seasons. That's tied for 12th all-time. It's not easy to get 30-plus touchdown passing season. A lot of quarterbacks haven't even done that twice in their career. He's done it 3 times. I think he's a top 13 quarterback. Is he top 10? I think that's pushing it. I could probably make an argument for Dak to be top 10, but I could probably make an argument to name 10 quarterbacks better than Dak Prescott at the same time. So like I said, fringe top 10, but he's definitely putting up top 10 numbers, especially last season. He had a huge year. And I don't know how much you guys take unique stats into account, but this is playerprofiler.com. Playerprofiler.com. I don't know how much you guys take seriously from this, but they got a lot of unique and interesting stats. One of the stats they had was called money throws, and what they defined as a money throw was a completed pass requiring exceptional skill or athleticism, as well as critical completions and clutch moments during the game. Obviously, this could be subjective, but this gives a good gauge on how many quarterbacks made how many big time throws in the season. Usually, guys that are in the top 5, top 10, you probably rearrange 2 or 3 or 3 versus the fourth most because of subjectivity. But a guy that has a lot has a lot. So it's subjective, but you can also tell if a guy's making a lot of big plays. He was number 1 in money throws in 2023, 34 money throws. Yes, it's subjective, but at least 30 big time throws. That means for Dak Prescott last season. That's you can't argue those numbers, man. I get that he chokes in the playoffs, and we'll get into that in a second, but you can't argue that. He made a ton of big time throws last season. If you watched the games, you saw it. He was also number 1 in completion percentage under pressure. Number 1. Getting pressured, number 1 completion percentage. Okay? So it's not like he's getting flushed under pressure like Tua and then making a bad throw, making a pick, getting flustered, and getting sacked. He's getting pressured. He's analyzing the pressure, either moving out, making a throw, or making a throw in the pocket, getting the hit. He's doing it. He's doing what everyone wanted him to do in the past couple of seasons. He's doing it. I don't know what else to say. And last but not least, most passing touchdowns last season. And I believe that passing yards are kind of a glamour stat. If you're trailing, you can kind of air it out when you're down by 20, get 200 yards in the fourth quarter. So I don't really take passing yards into account. But passing touchdowns, it's hard to make passing touchdowns a glamour stat. Let me list the past 10, 15 years of passing touchdown leaders in the season, starting from 2022 and going backwards. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all the way back to 2008. What do all those guys have in common? They're all future Hall of Famers. Even Andrew Luck, if his career kept going, he was on trajectory to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. The guy was special. So you can't really hide from that. You could say that Dak Prescott's an outlier, but he's in there with pretty good company. That's all I'll say. He's in there with pretty impressive company for sure. So now to get to some of the negative. Yes, the playoff success. The lack of playoff success, honestly. 2-5 record in playoff games in his career. 7 picks in 7 career games. So, yes, we all know. Playoffs, it's been lacking. I get that, but he gets you there, man. I believe he gets you there for a reason. I think he's part of the reason you get there. And, yes, he needs to be better in the playoffs. He's 30. He's got a lot of time left. If you get to a reasonable number, I would bring him back. I wouldn't pay him $55-60 million, but I'd pay him $40-45 million, no problem. Daniel Jones makes $40 million. If I'm Dak Prescott, I'm going, that guy makes $40 million and I can't? Has Daniel Jones ever thrown 30 touchdown passes in a season? Has Daniel Jones ever led the league in touchdown passes? Has Daniel Jones ever won his division? So I would pay him $40-45 million. If you're getting a guy that could lead the league in touchdown passes, you're going to pay him a pretty penny. I don't think he deserves top dollar in the league, though. I wouldn't pay him that. But I would pay him something. And that would be Dak's argument right there. And just going back a little bit, last summer, obviously I have my co-host Dylan. We had a little debate. He's a Giants fan. I said, who do you think's better, Dak or Daniel Jones? He said Daniel Jones. I said, you're crazy. Dak's much better. Got a lot of comments that were saying Daniel Jones was better. Quote, Dak is ass. Quote, Dak is hot garbage. Quote, you put Daniel Jones in that Cowboys offense, you'll see how far the Cowboys go. Dak always had a great O-line, always had a variety of receivers. I agree with that. Yes, Dak has had a way better team than Daniel Jones has ever could dream of. But if you think Daniel Jones is going to go lead the league in touchdown passes with the roster the Cowboys had last season, you're out of your goddamn mind. A lot of people think that Daniel Jones' best season was the Brian Daboll year 2 years ago. I actually think it was a rookie season. His rookie season, he threw 24 touchdowns in 12 games. Yes, he had 12 picks and a bunch of turnovers, but he was productive. People say his best season was 2 years ago, so we'll go with that. He had 15 touchdown passes, 22 total. I don't think he would ever dream of throwing 30 touchdown passes in a season. I don't think he would ever get there. So to say that Daniel Jones is better than Dak, we're crazy, guys. Come on, we're being too critical here. We gotta relax. Dak's putting up numbers, man. I've even been critical of it, but looking at the numbers, it's like, dude, we all gotta take a step back here. This guy deserves to get paid for sure. You can't say, I wouldn't pay Dak $40 million. Really? You wouldn't? With the way the contracts are going up now, you wouldn't pay Dak $40 million? But you'd pay Trevor Lawrence $50? Really? You'd really do that? I don't know. That's just my take on it. I think we're getting a little too out of hand with Dak. It's the guy's good. I'm not saying he's elite, but the guy's good. Let's take a step back. The guy needs to win a Super Bowl. Yes, this year he needs to make the NFC Championship game at minimum. I absolutely agree. But if he can make the NFC Championship game with the roster he currently has, I gotta say that's pretty impressive. It's not like they got any slouches. Like again, they got CeeDee Lamb, one of the best receivers in the league. Jake Ferguson becoming a star. They still got Brandon Cooks. Look, they brought back Zeke, who's a leader in the locker room. I think that's important. So I think they do have players, but I think it's lacking a little bit. So I think if Dak goes out there and plays just like he did last season and maybe wins that playoff game or two, that's a good season to me. I'd pay him. Again, not top dollar, but I'd pay him. So the Houston Texans traded for Stephon Diggs, signed Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud had an unbelievable rookie season. Will Anderson had an unbelievable rookie season. They were great. Let's be honest. CJ Stroud, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks, 100 passer rating, barely turned the ball over. The guy was very efficient. He made plays around him better. I never heard of Nico Collins before last year. Maybe that's my bad. Maybe that's me not being aware enough. But I think he literally turned him into a top receiver. So Stephon Diggs is stepping into a good situation. But don't be surprised if the Texans and specifically CJ Stroud take a slight step back next season. Defenses and defensive coordinators, coaches get a year, an offseason of tape. They get to see CJ Stroud's tendencies, his strengths, his weaknesses. And, you got to remember, CJ Stroud took a lot of teams by surprise last season. The Texans took a lot of teams by surprise last season. They were the hunters. Now they're going to be the hunted. There's teams and GMs, analysts, media calling them Super Bowl contenders. So they're going to be the hunted. People are going to be gunning for their head. So now there's expectations. The pressure's high. There's expectations. Defenses get some film on you. They're going to be targeting you. Not like physically, but they're going to be targeting like CJ Stroud specifically. He's going to be like one of the guys to watch out for all season. So as far as defensive coordinators, they're going to have their eye on him for sure, especially within the division. So, it's going to be tough for him to replicate exactly what he did last season. I still think the Texans are the best team in the AFC South. I still think the Texans can win the division. I still think the Texans have a lot to look forward to moving forward. But I wouldn't be surprised if CJ Stroud, 23 touchdowns, maybe he goes down to 20, 21 touchdowns, 5 picks, maybe a little bit of an uptick, 8, 9 picks next season. So don't be surprised if there's a little bit of a step back. Now, even though there's a step back, they still can win the division again. They still can win more games. But maybe it doesn't look as pretty. Maybe it's more defensive next year instead of offenses. I know that sounds crazy because of all the weapons they have. But, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some slight regression. Still think he's a top 10 quarterback. Still think he is emerging in this league and could win a Super Bowl one day. But I wouldn't be surprised if, with all the hype that there's some slight step back. And Stephon Diggs, let's be honest. He's probably still a top 15 receiver in the league, but he did look pedestrian last season, especially in the second half. 34 yards, 27, 24, 29, 26. That was 5 games since Stephon Diggs' second half last season. Pretty pedestrian, all those games under 40 yards. Is that number one receiver numbers? No. So I get why the Bills got rid of him. He looked like he was on the decline, but it looked like he was still getting open. Yes, he dropped that huge pass in the Chiefs game, but he was open. So it looks like he might, if he did lose a step, it's a very, very, very slight step because he's still making moves, still getting open down the field. So the Texans got themselves a dude for sure. It's not like they got themselves some wasp player. He's going to go in and be a dude. I don't think he's going to be the number one. I don't think he needs to be the number one. He's got a chance to redeem his image and be a real threat in the AFC still on another AFC team. So it's kind of crazy. He goes from the Bills, great team, and it's funny. Last offseason, there were rumors, obviously, of Stephon Diggs getting traded, and they kind of said, what's he going to get better than Josh Allen? I'm not saying CJ Stroud's better than Josh Allen because I don't think he is just yet. It's pretty close, man. Pretty close for sure. But like I said, don't be surprised if there's some slight step back next season. It's going to be tough for the Texans for sure, especially since they won the division last season. Their schedule's going to be harder. Like I said, all eyes are going to be on them. Probably more primetime games. They're going to be the hunted now. They're not the hunters anymore. Lots of factors playing into here. So don't be surprised if, they're a little disappointing. Still playoff team, but, it might not look as pretty. The Jags picking up Trevor Lawrence, 5th-year option. If you look at his numbers last season, he's been mid, man. That's all you could say. He's been pretty mid. 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, 88.5 passer rating. He's only 24, though, so I understand. He's still young. He can still learn. He still has shown flashes of showing potential to be an elite quarterback in the league. I see a lot of moments, and like, yes, the Chargers game, he had a terrible first half, came back, wonderful second half, really showed he can come back and pick you guys up in a moment where it matters most in the playoffs. But if you look at his numbers and his trends over his career, and specifically last season, he's not good under pressure and when trailing and when teams know he has to throw. When trailing last season, he had 10 touchdowns, 10 picks, 78 passer rating. It's not good, and it's not going to cut it. Too many interceptions in critical moments. When teams know you're going to throw, they're gunning off and picking you off. It's just not okay, especially if you're a number 1 overall pick. Fourth quarter last season, 56.6 completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, 75.7 passer rating. Again, not going to cut it. First overall pick, all the talent in the world. Everyone's saying you can't miss. Not okay. Fourth quarter should be your best stats. They were his worst. Fourth quarter within 7 points last season. 55.6 completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 73.1 passer rating. Even worse. It just gets even worse. When the moment gets bigger, it seems like he gets worse, specifically last season. But I know what you guys are going to say. Not fair. He was hurt last season. It was kind of an up and down season. He was way better in 2022. Fourth quarter within 7 points in 2022. 57 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 71.4 passer rating. Even worse. So I like Trevor Lawrence. I think he deserves to get paid, just like Dak. But does he deserve to get paid as much as Dak? Trevor Lawrence hasn't thrown 30 touchdown passes in a season. Dak has 3 times. Trevor Lawrence hasn't won a playoff game. Dak has. Trevor Lawrence hasn't won multiple divisions. Dak has. Trevor Lawrence leaves a lot to be desired still. And I still think he's going to be a good quarterback. Still thinks he deserves to get paid. And I still think he deserved his 5th-year option picked up. Absolutely. Trevor Lawrence, for whatever the number was, what was it, 30-something million? Absolutely. That's a good number. But when you start paying him Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson money, it's not okay. It's not going to be okay. One more stat. I keep saying, like, Dak deserves to get paid probably more than Trevor Lawrence as far as they've been at this point in their career. Like I said, Dak was first in completion percentage under pressure last season. What was Trevor Lawrence? He was 28th. So under pressure, he struggles. In the fourth quarter, he struggles. Close games in the fourth quarter, he struggles. Trailing, he struggles. I don't see it right now. I just don't see it. And you see some of it in the games. You see him make some plays and have some moments, but it just hasn't been enough. And if you compare it to Dak's stats, Dak has done more and deserves more at this point. And it's just being fair. All right, guys, that's it. Take care. See you next week. Thanks.